Well, welcome to the channel. Yes, I'm back on the 91 F-150. And if you can guess it, I am having brake problems. Nothing major, just that these ones you can fry an egg on them. I parked it here probably a couple weeks ago, and basically what was happening is that I was driving and I could smell welding. You know what that smells like if you've done it before. And I was like, that ain't quite right. So I took a stop and checked my brakes, and this one was the hottest of the 4 of them. I have a feeling what happened is that the brake line collapsed and it wasn't releasing the brake pads like it should. It's okay now, but they are kind of still tight. Mind you, the rust doesn't help. So I'm actually going to be in here trying to figure out what parts I need. I might actually just do a complete change out from the line all the way out. I know one of the rotors was not doing too good. And on this side, I also have like there's a guard on the back and it was rattling and shaking like crazy. So I want to take that out. I also want to just go ahead and check some of the suspension stuff. Every time I hit bumps and stuff like that, it always sounds like something is loose, that something is shaking or going to fall off or whatever. So not sure what that's all about. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe that's just the way the suspension is, and that's just the way it's going to be. But I'll play around with it and figure it out. Maybe I should also clean it up. But right now I'm just going to examine stuff and see what I need. I'll take the tire off on the other side and get that done, and then just do my inspection. So pretty much at first glance, things seem to be okay. The rotor looks good. The pads look good. It does seem to rub quite a bit. Well, especially when it gets to the rusty part. But there, it's really tight, which is not good. So I really do have a feeling that this line is what is the problem. It might be real fun to take that out. I'm not really sure. I'm going to have to soak that in PB Blaster and just try and see what happens. Most of the time, that's the part where it breaks. So this is the passenger side. You know, like I said, at first glance, I think it's just a hose. Everything else seems to be okay. Let's move on to the driver's side. So on this side, it seems to spin a little bit more freely than the other side, although it does have its sticky spots. But if you take a look at the rotor here, it's in bad shape. It looks, you know, crusty. It's pitted. It looks like it was in the ocean for a little while. And again, the line is something that I am going to go ahead and replace. The pads look okay. Both calipers seem to be okay, but I'm not sure when they were last changed, and I'm, you know, a bit concerned. Brakes are always important if you want to stop and, you know, not have an accident. So I think what I am going to do is obviously change the line, change the caliper, change the rotor. If pads aren't too expensive, I'll probably go ahead and just get brand new pads and keep these ones as a backup. On the other side, I can keep the rotor as a backup, as a spare kind of thing. But this rotor, I'm definitely going to get rid of. I don't like it. It's really pitted and kind of damaged, so to speak. Now, I'm not sure about the bearings on the inside, so I may change those also. They may be in good shape. I don't know. I haven't heard any issues with it. Maybe they just need some grease and some tightening. I don't know. But from last I checked, they're not that expensive for the inner and the outer. I think total it's probably going to be $100 just for that. The most expensive part in all of this is the rotor itself, this big chunk of steel. I'll just go ahead and change pretty much everything in terms of brakes and make sure that that's good. I did kind of shake stuff and I couldn't find anything that was loose. I don't want to shake it too much. It's a little oddly balanced on the jacks. I don't know about you guys, but I always have a hard time jacking stuff up, especially on the grass, because the grass compresses about a couple inches. And then the thing is too, it's always uneven. So you'll get one side up and this tire is, you know, free, and then you'll go do the other side and then that tire is free, but then this tire is touching the ground. Anyway, this just seems to be a whole show for me, and if you can guess, it took me almost a half hour to get this to be where it is, to have both wheels free. Again, I probably could have jacked it up right here in the back of the wheel on the spindle type deal. But I really wanted to check both tires, and I wanted to check the suspension on both sides, so that's why I wanted the front to pretty much be as free as possible. Anyway, I'll do a little bit of playing around and see what I get to. All right, all I'm trying to do right now is just loosen stuff if I can. I'm just going to start by the hose on the caliper. I did soak it in PB Blaster, but oh, that came off pretty easy. So I'm actually just going to leave it there, but I don't want to like just take it off because I don't want, you know, stuff leaking all over the place. I'm going to see if I can take the pins off for the caliper. All right, never done this before, so I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but we'll see. As far as I know, this is what you're supposed to do. Yeah, almost there. Oh yeah, there we go. One of the brake pins, or caliper pins I should say. So we'll do the same thing here. And it's out. So that's pretty nice. I'm going to actually pop some grease in here when I put these back in. Well, hopefully not these ones. I get it, hopefully a new kit. But I didn't do anything special. This is just a roll pin punch, and I just hit the edge here and that was it. It came out pretty good. Doesn't seem to want to come off. Yeah. Come on. All I need to do is just get one half of it off. It's not the right tool. I know. There we go. There we go. Oh, I guess not. Alright, now? Still? No? There we go. Now, you don't want to leave those hanging off the hose. I know that. Yeah, see, these brake pads really, they're not that bad. Maybe I will keep them, save a couple of bucks. This back one has a clip on it. And it looks like it's the only one. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Alright, so I got this part done. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And then what I'll do is I'll come back and I'll work on that line just to kind of loosen it up. Alright, so the other side pretty much came off as easily as this side. I mean, I guess it's easy when you've done it at least once. Kind of know what's happening. I'm going to work on here to see if I can split these without breaking anything. Again, I juiced it just to make sure I could try and get something. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it doesn't break. That's one of my biggest fears when doing this, is because I don't know if I have anything to fix this. I think it helps if you go the right way too. Lefty loosey, righty tighty, something like that. Ugh. I might have to get some heat. Still don't know if I'm doing it the right way, but anyway, we'll see. Oh, I think either I broke it or it came loose. No, maybe I just rounded it. Should have cleaned this truck before I started working on it. Oh, this is not good. I think I am rounding it. Yeah. Whoa, 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 whoa. I think what I'm going to do is I'll probably just try and get the right tool for that, because I just have an open box end wrench and those don't often do well here. And I'm really skeptical of getting this off in one piece, but I'll keep soaking. Yeah, so I'm going to get the right tool for that. box, whatever they are, just brake line or hose line, whatever you call it. They're a bit tighter, and then I'll try to get that off. And I'll also order the parts that I want to change. The rotor on the other side did have some issues, but once I take that off, I'll show you. But yeah, let me get the parts ordered and get the tools for that. All right, so I finally got my flare nut tools to be able to take off the lines. If you take a look, it has a couple extra teeth that you can bite into. Well, I say teeth loosely, but like it's got that extra notch there that you can see that would not normally be there on an open box wrench. So let me give that a try. So if all goes well, it should just come undone. Also got to grab the right size. But let's see. I don't think it's coming undone. I think I kind of stripped it, and now I'm going to have a struggle. Hopefully I don't break the line. It's so not good. Okay, let me try it on. Oh, that sun is blinding. Whew. Let me try it on the driver's side, and then I might try something else on this side, see what happens. Well, even with the right tool, it still didn't want to loosen up. I tried it on the driver's side, didn't help. What I'm going to do now is just try and pull off the clip and all that. That's kind of what I did on the other side. Basically, I used the driver's side as my test bench, but I'm just going to try and remove the clip that holds it in place. That'll give me better access, and then I use vice grips to kind of separate it. I'm not a fan of doing that kind of stuff, but I like using the tool that comes, or that's designed for it, but it doesn't always work. This one seems to be pretty jammed in there, so we'll see if I can knock some sense into it. It wasn't too bad once I got everything undone, but it doesn't always want to cooperate. Let's see what I can do here. Well, that broke, but that's okay, I guess. So one step closer to trying to pull it off. Kind of working in the blind here. Working in the blind, whatever. Can't see at all what's going on. I'm just fumbling here. Now, let me see if I can at least straighten this piece out and get some vice grips on there. It's like a double C-clip or something. It's a piece that's folded over itself. I don't care if you break. There we go. This one was already partially broken. So the other side came all undone, but again, like I said, I had to use the vice grips. I'm not sure how this one's going to come out, but I guess I'll find out. This really is not a good spot. I don't know why they did this design. It's awful. I can't get in there. Not sure even if I got that. It did turn, but oh, I think I got it. Yeah, I think it did. I'm just gonna try my regular wrench here. Yes. I was worried about this one just because it had more junk on it. The other one wasn't too bad. Even though the other one looks like it's been under the ocean. Well, I kind of stripped it a little bit, and now it's giving me problems to try and get the wrench on it. So I'm just going to try whatever I can at this point. Now, all I'm trying to do is just make sure that everything comes undone, because I wanted to know what I had to order. I still didn't order anything yet. Let's see if I can feed this through here on the side. And then just reconnect it temporarily. Yep, alright, that looks good. And that way I can avoid just getting brake fluid everywhere. Alright, as long as that doesn't leak, then I'm happy. It's all put back together temporarily, like I said. So before I go any further, I will order the parts. So this is the piece, that clip that holds in the brake line there. So as you can see, like it's like a C, but it's got like a double part, so that way it holds it in place. It adds like a little bit of tension to keep it from, you know, being loose. All right, so for me, that's the worst part. Like, that's what I was afraid of. I was afraid I was going to have to make new brake lines. I didn't want to get into that. I just wanted to get this brake working again, and thought, okay, let me just do both sides, get them both at the same level, and then go from there, because I don't know what's been done. I don't know the history of the brakes. This one looks like some stuff was changed, but the other side doesn't look like anything was changed. So, you know, might as well just start fresh. Yeah, maybe a bit more expensive, but at least from there I can work on changing just the parts that I need later on, because I'll know more about what happened. All right, order parts. Well, it's only been a week and a half, par for the course, but moving on. So I picked up the bearings, inner and outer, the caliper, the rotor, and brake pads, and hoses. Now this is both for the driver's side and the passenger side. I figure I don't really know what's been happening with these brakes and stuff like that, so I'm literally just doing a full refresh. As you can tell, I bought all these parts at Napa. They had everything, I just had to wait for them, and that's what basically took a little bit longer. This is obviously not stuff that's on the shelf, so it's understandable. Not sponsored, just saying. The most expensive piece out of all of this is the rotor, because I mean it's fully loaded. What I like about it is that it comes with the races for the actual bearings. I checked it myself, and they sit the same way as the original does. So I'm not concerned about using them, and they fit nicely, they spin nicely, they don't feel rough or anything like that. I checked it both for the inner and the outer. The caliper looks in good shape. They come with the pins and clips, and they also come with the banjo bolt and washers. The cool part is that you'll actually have some spares, because these also come with the washers, the crush washers, and I like too that it comes with the clip on the hoses, because I had forgotten to grab those, but then realized that they are on there, so I don't have to worry about that. They come for both of them, left and right. Brake pads come in a kit of both sets, left and right, and that's pretty much it for the parts. So what I'm going to do to make sure that I can look like a professional is I'm actually going to do the driver's side first. The only difference with the driver's side is that this hose connector here has an in and an out. So you have your in from your actual brake master that goes out to the other side to pressurize the passenger side and also the driver's side. So let me get this all undone. I'm going to start with this first, and then I'll bring you back when I get onto the passenger side. So as you can see, I took the driver's side out, but I ended up realizing that I was missing something. Now, I pulled everything off. That includes the shield here, because I'll show you in a minute. It's pretty rusty all around where it bolts up to, which basically is just going to fall off and make a bunch of noise. Now, because I forgot that part, I just left the grease all on the shaft here, so that way when it rains, it doesn't rust it all up. It will have to go through a pretty serious cleaning, because there's, metal debris and all that grease that's on there that needs to come off. So I forgot to get this seal right here. It also seemingly holds the bearing in, so I need to go ahead and order that ASAP. Hopefully that doesn't take too long, but either way, at this point, I guess it doesn't really matter. And this is the shield, and basically, as you can see here, that's where it's rusting. And I'll show you on the passenger side, that one completely rusted and fell off, and now I can't really use it. I don't plan on reusing this anyway, because I know that that's going to fall off. It does mean that the rotor is going to get a little bit more junk on it than you would like, but at this point, that's kind of where I'm at. So let me go ahead and take apart the passenger side and get it to the same level as the driver's side. All right, so first things first, when you're doing this, get comfortable, because that's the biggest thing. Wear some rubber gloves, because that's pretty greasy in there. At least this is my experience talking, which is basically one side. Anyway, what I'm going to do is just take the caliper, make sure that is completely out of the way. I'm just going to kind of hang it / support it way up here. The next thing I'm going to do is pop this cap off. I'm just using a flathead screwdriver, nothing special. Sometimes people use the adjustable with like a wrench, which is what I might have to do, because that one is in there pretty good. Oh no, there we go. And when it finally lets go, okay, is it going to come off now? Maybe not. Now, here, what, who, huh? There we go. All right. So that's what I'm saying, is it's just really greasy in here. Well, I mean, it could be worse. I'm just putting my stuff on a little paper towel that I have there. And what you're going to also have to do after, once all that's taken off, is just remove this cotter pin. I'm just using some, I think they're called lineman pliers or something. Maybe this is not going to work. Sometimes I'm just going to use a flathead screwdriver to pop that blade out, and then Just try and squeeze that through. Oh yeah. Again, just putting it on the paper towel. I'm not really stressing about this stuff because I will clean it and put in some new ones. Now this is where I use the adjustable pliers just to get that bolt off, or nut. Now it might slide forward. That's what it did on the other side for me. And then the grease seems to hold everything. There are some multiple pieces in here, so just go slowly. And I'm going to push it forward so I can get the bearing out, and there we go. Oh yeah, I forgot that wants to slide forward. So I'm just going to let it fall. Yeah. And okay, well, here's the shield. And this is all that I have left because I ended up taking some pliers and stuff trying to get this off. It was literally just rattling and making a bunch of noise. I am going to take the screws out of there and get this completely gone. Now I can tell somebody was in here before, not just because of the rotor, but now this grease here is all nice and clean, and this stuff here is all dirty. So that clean stuff just shows that it hasn't spun around all that much. Now I'm taking a look at the bearings, and they are Timken bearings. These don't seem to be making a bunch of noise, so I may keep them as a spare. The new ones I have actually have like a metal ring around them to hold in the actual bearing, but I'll keep these as spares, you know, the emergency kind. And then here, is there a seal on this one? Yeah, there is. So the seal is about the only thing that I'm going to have to get new, which is the part that I was missing. And I pretty much, like I said, I think I said it before, the reason why I'm kind of going with a bunch of new stuff is so that way I know the actual status of all this stuff here. This is one of the things with buying a used vehicle. You just don't know what you're getting. And by me doing this maintenance, I now know, okay, this is new. I did it at, you know, X kilometers, and it's due for a replacement. And then at that point, I'll make a decision to either just replace the part that I need, or do what I'm doing right now, and that's doing a full replacement on either side. Now I'm just taking the bolts out for that shield. I don't really care for them that much. I will not be putting it back in. And this bolt is giving me a problem. Are you serious? Come on now. I hit record and yep, I have problems. Alright, annoying booger, but I got it. Alright, those are all out. Basically, I'm just going to spread some of the grease around just to make sure that it doesn't rust, because it is open to the elements, and I really don't want to have to deal with other issues. And honestly, that's going to be it for now, unfortunately, because just that seal situation on the rotor. All right, before I forget too, because I also wanted to show you this. So this is the rotor on the passenger side, which I believe the issue on this passenger side was the actual line, but we'll cut that open once I get it off just to make sure. Although it could be the caliper, but I doubt that. Just for some reason, I just have a feeling that that's not what it is, but I'm not a mechanic, so I could very much be wrong. This is the rotor that came out on the driver's side. Now, if you take a look here and here, that should be smooth like this one here. And the brake pad is also kind of curved on the edges. Not sure how well it's showing up here, but you can kind of see that these edges are rounded because this rotor is pretty much toast. It should be flat to provide the most amount of contact, and that's why on the driver's side I'm changing the rotor. And when you change rotors, it's also a good idea to change pads so that way they bed together, and you have to change the pads on both sides when you change any kind of pad so that way they're identical and wear the same. And then as you can see, like the thickness on both of them, like if you compare them relatively side by side, the left one in the image is much newer and thicker than the one on the right hand side. So this was probably changed at some point, but not this one, which is again one of the few reasons, or many reasons, that I am changing everything. It's just to get a good idea as to when I changed it, and in the future I know what I've done and what I haven't done. So it's just a good kind of future plan setup type deal. All right, got the seal. Got it pretty quickly within 24 hours, something that they had in stock, so that was good. And I went ahead and actually installed the driver's side. Everything is good, set up, installed. Everything rolls real nice, looks awesome. It's really nice to have some like cool brand new parts that are shiny. That won't last long because it's just basically bare steel. Brake line is installed. I honestly just bled it, gravity bled it, bleep, bleep, bloop, bleeped it. You know what I'm talking about. It just kind of flowed by itself. It filled the caliper. I haven't pushed on the brake pad yet because I want to get the other side in, but it all came out by itself, just flowed. And that's the way it's going to stay just for now until I get the other side done. And then I will pump it up and make sure that it works good. Let's get to the passenger side. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to clean this up and get the bearing ready and greased up and pop that in and then pop the seal on it. So I'm just going to take some brake clean and just give it a wipe down, make sure there's no debris or anything in there. I don't want to spray it like crazy because then it's just pretty much going to fly all over the place. And this takes any surface stuff off. I just want to make sure that it's clean, that the, what is it called, the bearing race is not, you know, messed up, and that the surfaces look good. And they do. My bearing comes with an additional race or an extra race, but since this one has one already installed, I'm just going to use that one, and then this one is just going to be a backup. Now this is excuse me. Now this is the kind of the messy part, the part that kind of sucks, and really is no other way that I know how to do it by hand, because I do know that there's a tool, but I don't have that. So I'm just going to do it the dirty way, the old school way, or the manual way. And basically I'm just going to grab a bunch of grease, put it in my palm of my hand, and then I'm just going to push it through all the way up until it comes through the top side. I'm going to flip it around a little bit, just make sure that everything gets greased up. Now it takes a bit of time, so I'll probably just jump to when I'm done. But that's pretty much all you do, is you just want to try and fill it up. Now, I'm not a pro here again, so you know, there's probably 100 ways to do this, but this is kind of the way that I've seen, and it does work, just a little time consuming. All right, so the thing with grease is that it pretty much gets everywhere. For me, I think I'm done. I've squeezed it through. I've watched it come out all around the edge here as I was squeezing it through. I kind of spun it a little bit just to make sure that there was stuff in there, and again, just, you know, pushed it through just to make sure that I had plenty of grease and no air bubbles. I'm going to apply a bunch of grease on the inside here, just to make sure that, you know, I have extra and that there's no, you know, no non-loose parts that are gonna, you know, rub against the metal. I'm just gonna apply it liberally. I don't think that there is an issue with putting too much grease, because any of the excess will just flow right out. All I'm trying to do is just make sure that everything is covered and that there is a nice amount of grease on there. And like I said, you're going to get grease everywhere. At least that's my experience. Just drop that in there. I'm not going to push on it very hard. I just want to make sure that it's seated. And there we go. I'm going to take this off and I'm going to get the seal. And then after that, I'm just going to do a little bit of cleaning. Now for the seal, I don't have the right tool to push this down. Typically you want, I forget what it's called anyway. It's just this flat piece that goes on here and basically pushes it in for you nice and level. What I'm going to do is actually just lay it in nice and flat as best as I can. And I'm just going to use a rubber mallet to squish it in there. Now I'm literally using the rubber side. I don't want to try and get it to be all crooked. I'm just going to tap it lightly on all around it and try to get it as level as I can. I'm going to flip to the plastic side. It might be a little bit better. This is how I did the other one, and it went in nice. And you'll see as you're getting closer to it, it changes sound. And once you get contact with the rotor, it completely changes sound. So it's not as high pitched as it was before. And it's definitely a lot more solid. Just going to take a look at it, make sure it's good, nice and flat. And it looks flat. I did not hit the rubber part that's on the on the inside. That's the actual seal. I literally just hit around on the metal part as softly as I could. And then it seated itself. I'm going to throw in a little bit of grease in there and make sure that that's all greased up. And then I'm just going to clean up around here because I did get a little bit of grease and stuff on there. So I'm just adding a little bit around here just to make sure that it slides over the metal piece on the spindle there. I'm not going completely crazy. I just want to make sure that it fits nice and snug. There we go. Plenty of grease. All right, so I'm going to put that aside for a minute, and then we're going to work on the spindle. Okay, I don't want to clean this actual spindle yet. I actually just want to go in and clean the surface where the brake caliper meets up, and that way it'll allow me just to make sure that everything fits nice and snug. Now I'm just using a wire wheel, nothing special. You know, some people call it the cheek poker or the eye poker or whatever, but it works really good just to do this. The only thing I find sometimes is it wants to rip right out of your hands. And there we are, nice and simple. I didn't go too crazy. Just the slide where the caliper goes, and then the slide basically where the brake pad goes. So now I'm going to clean this up. So I'm just going to apply brake cleaner liberally. I don't care. Just go all over the place. Get it nice and clean. And I'm just going to grab a rag and wipe it down. I'm going to just do this a couple times. Actually, I'm also going to go in there with the wire wheel and clean that up, get some of the rust off, and make sure that's a smooth surface for the seal to sit on. All right, again, nothing crazy. Just trying to clean the rust particles off. All right, that's good, nice and clean, perfect. Don't see any issues or weirdness. So now I'm going to go ahead and prep the pieces for putting the rotor on. Greasing the outer bearing is the same as greasing the inner bearing, so I'm not going to show you guys that. And then I'm going to prep all the other pieces. There's a washer, a nut, and then kind of not a castle nut, but the cover for the nut that looks like a castle nut. And then there's a cotter pin. So I'll prep all that stuff and I'll bring you back when I'm ready to install it. All right, I got everything prepped. So as you can tell, I got all the grease on the spindle. I got my parts down here, which are all ready to go, lined up. So that way, as soon as I put this on, I can throw those parts on without too much fuss. It's just to try and get things lined up, because once you pop this on, it kind of goes fast. You just got to put all the other pieces out. I find sometimes that the rotor just wants to slide forward because this is tapered. So let's go ahead and install that. It's pretty simple. I got my rotor. Just be gentle. I got my bearing that goes inside. Oh man, I forgot to put some grease in there. Dang it. Where is it? All right, I'm gonna have to take this out, pop some grease in there. All right, just had forgotten to put some grease on the outer bearing. Pop this back on there. Now we're good to go. Get this lined up. Should slide, there we go. Get the washer. Get the nut. And there you go, that should hold itself. So I'm just using an adjustable wrench here. Basically the book says to bring it down to 25 foot-pounds. I'm just gonna tighten it, and then it's just gonna get real tight and basically click, click. Yep, that's 25 foot-pounds. And then I'm just gonna loosen it up. And then what it says from there is to hand tighten. And then I really can't go any further than that. And then voila, that's it. It seems a little bit tight. Even the other side kind of did this, but like the grease is all packed in there. I find that that's the thing that is really sticky. But as you can see, it goes really good. It's very smooth. There's no noise, and I can't go any tighter than that. So basically, I'm just going to put what looks like a castle nut but isn't. That's all set up. I got to get a cotter pin and just pop that in there, and then just use a pair of pliers and make these opened up. There. Oops. And there. Super simple. All is good. That's all holding. It's not going anywhere. Put a little grease in the cap and then just pop the cap on. Well, if it doesn't get stuck in crooked. There we go. And then I'm just going to use my rubber mallet again and then just pop that in there nice and easy. Get it to sit flush. We're golden. There we go. So that part is all done. I'm going to give a shot of cleaning on the rotor to get most of the grease off and just clean that up and make it look nice. So I'm just going to use my brake clean. Again, spray that. No problemo. Rotors come with a coating on them to keep them nice and fresh. I'm just going to wipe it down. Front and back. And that's it. I'm not going to go crazy. The brake clean removes the oil, so we're good there. Now let's just try and get onto this caliper. So before putting on the caliper, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of grease these little slots here and then the little spots where the brake pad sits. I'm just lightly applying it. I'm not really going crazy here. Oh, and I just put some on the rotor, so I'm going to have to clean that up. And you don't want anything like this on the rotor, because otherwise you can't stop. And then here I'm just putting some in there just to make sure that the pin slides when I put that in. Again, you don't want to put too much. I think I might be putting a little bit too much, but it'll be fine for now. I'm gonna just get my little spots there. This has some brake clean on it, so I'm not overly worried about leaving residue. And I'll give it another shot after once it's fully installed. So here's the brake pad, but it does come with the clip that goes in there. This part here actually comes with the caliper, and it basically just goes in on the bottom here. If I can pop that on there. Yep. And then what that does is it just holds the pad in place. I have had to bend these a little bit to get them to sit a little bit better. Actually, this one looks like it should be okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to squeeze that in there. It actually only fits in one way. If you can get it, it should. There we go. Should just pop right in. And we're done. Now for the caliper, what you're going to do is you're going to preload it with the other side. Mine wiggles a little bit. Apparently you can push these down. I might leave that for later. I'm not 100% sure. See how it does. And then basically I'm just going to hold it all together and try to pivot it on to here. And there we go. I'm just going to let it sit there for a second. And now I'm just going to pop in these clips. They only go in one way. The bottom is wider than the top. And basically you put that thinner part towards the outside of the caliper. And get it lined up at some point. And it should, well, the other side went in pretty easy. Okay, let me do the bottom actually. That might be better. Yeah. Or not. I don't know. Let's try it again. There we go. And here we go with the bottom here. There we go. All I'm going to do is just grab my mallet again. Push that in. You'll hear it click. Basically, you'll see that these pins here are popped out on the other side. Both top and bottom are the same. There we go. Just want to try and center them, make it look good. And that's it for that. Super, super simple. Nothing special. I'm going to give it another cleaning. Make sure that there's nothing on there. All right, there we go. All set, nice and clean. And everything is installed. It looks good. Next thing I'm going to do is detach the brake line and remove the old caliper because it's kind of just hanging right there. And then we'll set that line up. All right, so got the new brake line, and basically I'm just going to pop it on here loosely. Now it comes with copper crush washers, and what you want to do is put one on the outside of the nut, or basically the part that comes in contact with the caliper, and then one on the head of the banjo bolt. Just push that through there, and then, like I said, I'm just gonna get it into position like that, and then just lightly screw that in. All right, so that's nice and semi-snug. And then what I'm going to do is just disconnect this line here, if I can. Oops, wrong way. Loosey. There we go. Now it's going to leak some brake fluid, but just try to be quick. Oops, I did that the wrong way. I got to feed it through here. Haha, already messing it up. Whoa, that went straight through. That's good. There we go. All right, let me do it this way actually. Push it all the way through, and then try and get that to screw in. All right. Right there. Okay, I'm actually going to try and tighten it as much as I can. Hopefully it doesn't break. Just pass that through. Oops, did I do this incorrectly? Maybe. Yeah, I can't feed that through, so I gotta disconnect it again, and then rotate the brake hose so that way it lines up with the slot in here. There we go. And then see if I can blind tighten it. Okay, for now that'll do. I don't know if you can see it, but it is gravity feeding. It is basically dripping at the bottom there. Oh, there you go. So I'm going to tighten the caliper and then go in and tighten that up. I'm going to have to move the camera though. Now there is a torque for this. I don't remember what it is, but I've usually just tightened it by hand and gotten it nice and tight so that way it's not leaking. You can tell because nothing's coming out. And how I typically figure that out is just wipe it down and see if anything forms on the bottom of that. I'm going to put the clip back in up here because there's a little kind of U or C clip that goes in there to hold that in place so it doesn't move in and out. And then I'm going to make sure that I tighten that up real good. All right, clip is in, it's tightened down. Same with down here. What I'm going to try and do is get this bleeder valve to open up. I'm actually just going to take it completely out and then have it, why do I keep messing that up? Gravity bleed, and then just basically put that back, the valve back in, and then do the proper bleeding procedure. So there. And then give it a little bit of time, it should kind of come out and leak by itself. Kind of hard to see because, well, it's kind of dark, but eventually that caliper will fill up and then leak out. And there you go. It's kind of leaking out. I don't know if it'll show up. I think it's focusing on something else, but there, yeah. It's pouring out by itself. So it basically just bled by itself, but we'll do a proper one after. So I'm just going to put the bleeder valve back in nice and tight just for the moment, and then we'll just do a cleanup. All right, I went ahead and bled both sides. Really not much I could show because, well, my head is in the way of everything, so I can't really show anything. I bled the brakes on both sides, and then I just checked to make sure that there was no leaks on any of the connections. So way up here and down here and at the bleeder valve, everything seems to be good. I've gone over it twice just to make sure everything is good because, you know, brakes, got to be careful. And I also went ahead and cleaned all the rotors again just to make sure that that was all good. So now my interesting setup for getting, you know, the brakes pumped and all that is basically what I did is I just took the rubber pad off to make sure that it had no softness. Pumped the brakes several times, like over 5 times. Then I used this extension and this kind of 4x4 and basically use it to push and hold it in place up against the seat. Now I can't show you because it's kind of tough for me to do it, and it kind of wants to pop out and smack you in the face, but that's basically what I did. Basically, if you can find a rod that goes from the pedal to the seat and hold it down there, it'll work. But honestly, if you can get some help, that's the best way to do it. And that way you can tell somebody to pump, and then you can release the bleeder valve and go through that whole process. And I can tell you right now, they are very, very stiff. I mean, very, very stiff. So I'm going to go drive it and see where we get from there. But first, I'm going to pop the wheel back on and then bring it back onto the ground. Oh, but before I forget, this is the side or the brake line that was the issue, or at least I think it was the issue with it overheating the rotor. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and try and cut it live right in front of you. Oh, it's not too bad. Well, right there it looks all right. Oh, barely can see it, but right there it looks all right. It doesn't look like it shrunk or swollen up. So there's the two pieces. So it might not even have been this, it might have been the caliper, but either way, I'm pretty happy to have changed these. I think that this was a worthwhile thing. Brakes are always important, and I didn't want to risk anything. You can see there that it's kind of ripping and falling apart, so not a good thing. All right, in the truck, got my foot on the brake, and it's definitely holding, so that's a good sign. So as you can see, I'll move a little bit, hit the brakes, and it holds. It grabs quite good. So I'm gonna just turn around here. Oh, bumpy. Just gonna try and get into a little straight spot, and then just kind of, you know, quote unquote emergency brake, see what happens. Oh, she's not very fast, but she certainly stops. So let me just go for a bit of a spin, maybe 15 minutes or so, seat the brakes in and see how they go. All right, heading down a hill, and I'm just holding the brakes a little bit at a time, and it definitely sounds, well, I was hearing some creaking before, but they are definitely holding. They seem to be pretty tight. It's hard to tell though, because I haven't driven this truck. There you go. Not sure if you heard that. That definitely sounds like the front brakes. Just gonna let myself roll a bit, pick up a little bit of speed, and then just hit the brakes and see what happens. And brake. Oh, there's definitely some locking up in there, or at least some grabbing. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm just gonna drive around for maybe 10 minutes or so, and you know, see what happens from there. Pretty much just bed them in, I guess is the term, and drive them kind of so that way they rub together. I guess that's what it is. Anyway, I'm not a mechanic. Well, the brakes are done. I tested them out, did different styles of braking, you know, soft, slow braking, a little bit harder braking, kind of as if I was driving in the city, and everything seems to work fine. They react pretty much right away as soon as I press on the brake pedal, which is great. It's a nice feeling. I went and checked both sides, touched them, and they don't seem to be super hot. They were warm, but not enough so that way, you know, I could cook an egg on it, kind of thing. Now, if you're thinking about doing this yourself and you're not sure, or you're very, very uncomfortable, fearful type, don't do it. Brakes are kind of a thing where you got to be confident, or at least relatively confident enough to be able to do it. Just go to a mechanic if you can't do it or not sure. So my Paul experience in this, or my Paul tips, if you will, when you're doing this, have lots of paper towels, a good amount of brake cleaner, a lot of rubber gloves, anything else that you think is disposable, just have a lot of it on you, because this gets pretty messy when you're dealing with the grease and all that. Other than that, this installation is pretty good. You can probably do it in about half a day, maybe a whole day, if you just want to take your time and have some wobble pops, as some say, and just enjoy yourself. And as usual, just take your time with it. It's really not that hard. And like I said before, if you just don't feel comfortable with it, don't do it. Hire a mechanic. That's what they're there for. I'm pretty happy with the setup. It's not like a legit upgrade, but it's an upgrade to what it was before, in the sense that before they weren't working that well, and now they seem to be. I'm going to keep an eye on it and just make sure that everything is okay, nothing is leaking. I will at some point, after I do several kilometers, I will just check them, make sure that the bearings are not loose or anything like that, and make sure that nothing is wobbling, and, you know, make sure we're good to go for the future. You know, I still got some other projects. I want to keep this thing intact. And on that note, just want to say thanks for watching. I do appreciate it, and take it easy.